Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes, and we are recapping Dark. We're on Season 2, Episode 3. This one's called Ghosts, and I'm here with my co-host from one of my stories. It's Lindsay Dunn. Ahoy, Lindsay.
Ahoy, Steve.
How you doing tonight, Lindsay?
I'm doing okay. It's it's weird weather season here in North Carolina. Rain, heavy rains, and then clear skies, and then more torrents.
Yeah, we're catching the same bands, I think, here in Virginia, because it's the same thing going on. It's like heavy thunderstorms, then nothing, and then like an even heavier thunderstorm, and then it's beautiful, and then it gets hot, and then it gets cold. It's weird. Like the world of Dark, I guess.
The world of Winden is weird, for sure. And there's lots of crazy weather in Winden as well. You know, all the rain.
Haven't seen a whole lot of that. I saw a little bit this episode in the background. This episode is the point when I watched Dark for the first time that I started getting confused. But then instead of exploring that confusion, I just trudged on ahead and kept watching episode after episode. Not sure what Claudia was up to ever. I didn't really catch on to a lot of this stuff the first time through. So I wrote down a couple of talking points I wanted to bring up at the very end of this episode. Just the name of our time travelers and what exactly their objectives are. Just so, you know, I can be straight in my mind. And I know that, I consider myself a smart person. I can follow a TV show. And this lost me right here. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I want to, you know, just like you, I want to help guide listeners and like the readers along.
Yeah, and ourselves.
Definitely ourselves. That's the most important guy to figure this out is me. I heard a podcast today. They talked about movies, and one of the guys said something. He said, "This movie made me think about myself." I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much what stuff does for me too." But yeah, this episode's neat. We don't get any Jonas. We left on a cliffhanger last episode, and they left us hanging for a whole nother episode here.
They're going to make us wait to find out the big reveal of what happened to Jonas.
But remember last episode, I was complaining. I was like, what happened to Helge? I want to know what happened to Helge. And here we go. This is exactly how this episode started out, was answering my question. Did you know that?
I didn't. I forgot that was, but when I watched that is the first thing I thought of. Steve, I thought of you. I thought Steve's going to be happy because you got to see little Helge here.
Yeah. Didn't say a whole lot, but we got to see him anyway. And a whole lot of Claudia. This is like a Claudia heavy episode.
Oh, yeah. Lots of Claudia. Lots of Tiedemans.
Yeah, and I get the Tiedemans and the Dopplers like mixed up sometimes because I see like the Doppler household, and I'm like, wait, was this the hotel? What's happening? But we're getting straight. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up before we get on with your recap, Lindsay?
No, I think we can jump right into it.
I'm ready because I have questions. So
okay, great.
I'll let you tear into it.
Yeah, I hope I have answers. This is not the point where I'm confused yet, but it is coming very soon.
Okay.
So this episode opens with young Helge.
Yay.
And Noah in the blue, creepy bedroom. Helge looks really scared, and his face is scratched and bruised from the mauling he received from Ulrich. And Noah seems to be trying to assure him as assured as you can make somebody as you strap them into a metal chair. And it's an older chair than the one we've seen that Eric was in, because the one that Eric was in only went around your eyes, right? It made a little visor across your eyes, and this completely shuts you in to like, almost looks like an Iron Maiden type of thing. This chair completely closes around a person.
It does, but I kind of think this is the newer, more souped up version because he had that vial of cesium that he used to make it go. Somehow he had a vial of that stuff, and he had like all the time machine parts there. And instead of going over his eyes, like you said, it goes over his whole body. I was kind of thinking this was like the new version where he's like, I finally got this figured out. You got to put it over the whole body. You got to use this vial of stuff. And this was successful this time. It wasn't a failure. That's what makes me think it was a newer, improved version because it worked.
It's definitely not a newer version because if we remember when we're with Eric, it's Helge who's closing him in the machine.
That's true, but then again, we see like an older Ulrich in like an earlier year too. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We do see Helge doing that, but it's...
in Helge's years, he's younger here. I feel like this is right after. In my mind, this is after Helge has been transported. He's transported once when he did the switcheroony with Jonas, and at this point, you know, he was newly arrived. Noah met him for the first time in this room. And now he's like, we need to run this again. And so this is because he's talking about how God chose you. You were chosen. So I feel like this is pretty new. Like a sleeker. Okay, just think about in general with technology. You never go bigger. I mean, cell phones used to be like big honking things, you know, now they're like smaller and more compact. And now, I mean, there's cell phones that go slightly bigger. But to me, this thing is unwieldy. It's very medieval looking, whereas we might just have a difference of opinion here. But I feel like this is like the first model before the sleeker model was invented. This was all they had to work with. And I think maybe later they just ran out. They had the cesium here. I think maybe they ran out later, and that's why they don't have it.
I guess, okay, yeah, we'll do the agree to disagree thing. 'Cause I'll say one more thing in my defense.
Okay.
Which is, you said something that made me stop in my tracks and say, oh, Lindsay's right. You're like, Helge is the one that strapped in Eric. Correct. That was in this exact same room, though. So, like... Helge is going to grow up. Okay, I don't know. When Helge time traveled he was in the bunker, 1953 with the pine cones and all that stuff. Right. There was none of this stuff in the room. He then traveled to the Blue Room. He's been there in the 90s timeline with Noah now for I don't know 6. And he's been missing. You know, he's been missing from his house. And we're going to see him return to his house. But I feel like this is early in the process. This is pre-Eric. Okay.
Yeah, but
maybe this is what gave Noah like also. And this is a point for you. Noah gave Noah the confidence to move forward. Oh, hey, it worked. So we're going to keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I said, and this was something, this was something like on our Facebook group, our Dark Ways Facebook group, people were kind of arguing about a little bit. And my feeling is that Noah doesn't know about Jonas. He doesn't know, this is the thing, he only knows about Helge. He doesn't know about Jonas. Okay. Because in his mind, Jonas was in here to be like, as another experiment. And so, like, he knew he was in the room, but I don't think... Yeah, I feel like he doesn't know about the Jonas factor, so Noah only has half of the information. He only knows Helge moved into the room. He doesn't know how it happened, but he's like, this is a magical room, and, we just need to harness the energy. But I think, okay, but for the rest of the scene, Helge is clutching that pfennig coin in his hand. And Noah says, time is always with you wherever you go. You carry it within you, and it carries you. It sees and hears everything that you do and say. And it's very, basically, time is like Santa Claus. I mean, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
And he's holding the proof in his hands. That exact same penny that he got from Ulrich. That's who he got that penny from. Was from adult Ulrich, who came right before he beat him with the rock. He showed it to him. He was like, "You ever seen this before?" Nope. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like that is a good representation right there, because that thing is traveling back and forth in time.
That's interesting that he's clutching this thing that was given to him by a man that tried to kill him.
That's right.
It's kind of like you mentioned that Noah may have gotten his tattoo as an homage to the man that he killed. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's a little odd that it's a little odd that Helge would be clutching that thing from the man that tried to kill him.
Yeah, for comfort, perhaps.
All right, so then 1954, Doris Tiedemann and Agnes Nielsen are in the bedroom. Doris is lying on her back, and at first we're just like,
what are you doing?
Is she okay? Is she hurt?
Does she need CPR?
Yeah. And then we realize she's getting enjoyment from Agnes.
Yes.
And Doris is wearing blue, Agnes is yellow. Their rendezvous is interrupted by young Claudia coming in for the milk money. And she's really surprised to see them this way. Agnes gives her the money plus extra for some candy. And then Claudia leaves. Doris feels kind of bad or embarrassed. She's worried about the fact that she was seen by her daughter. Sure. Agnes just tells her, all families have secrets.
Not helpful right now.
And she's going to leave on an errand of her own. But before she leaves, she tells Doris, "You're beautiful."
Yes. That's how the Nielsens skirt around saying "I love you." They skirt around their feelings just by saying "you're beautiful." You pointed that out in our Facebook group as well. I saw that you pointed out the direct correlation between her telling this to her name is Doris, right?
Doris, yeah.
Doris Tiedemann, and then Ulrich saying this to Hannah. Mm-hmm. The "you're beautiful" line. I think that tells us that obviously, Doris is really enamored with Agnes. It's obvious that she's never experienced like an orgasm like that before. Mm-hmm. So, and it's also obvious with this line that perhaps Agnes doesn't feel quite the same way. Maybe it's like perhaps this timing might be a little bit too perfect for what's happening here.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that about Agnes, but yeah, maybe, she's not, in the most loving of ways, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she may have some motives. It kind of depends on how you think Ulrich feels about Hannah. Because of the parallelism, your view of what their relationship is like is now can sort of be tainted by okay, sure. Remember that was kind of how Ulrich kind of gave Hannah a little pat in the head. Oh, you're sweet, not that she's not genuinely beautiful, she is, but just the way that it's kind of done. Now, Doris didn't really say anything, she didn't right. look for a specific assurance or anything, but she was kind of like, "Oh, you're leaving?" and sounded really disappointed. So, yeah, it's kind of like, it kind of makes you question Agnes's motives here, and if she's, maybe she does like Doris, but did she come into this situation with a motive that she was going to seduce Doris?
It seems that way to me. That's basically what my takeaway from this scene is well, first my first takeaway was like, oh, Doris loves her. Doris is like into her. But then as I rewatched, I kind of learned these things. The first time I watched this, it didn't even dawn on me that Claudia, young Claudia, was the exact same elderly Claudia that she goes and meets later. That blew right past me the first time I watched this. So this show is worth rewatching for those kind of reasons alone.
Yeah. On the other hand, not saying, okay, so Doris is into her for sure, but I don't know. Do they really, just because you give somebody gave you an orgasm, does that mean you love them? I don't know. as indicated later, we know Claudia says that she does love her, but I kind of part of me when I first saw this, and I've seen it several times now, but it's like Doris is just at home by herself, and her husband is always distracted, has never really given her attention or made her feel pretty or made her feel special. So she's definitely lusting after Agnes, but I'm not sure if she loves her. She's attracted to her. She's she's into this relationship right now, but they haven't known each other that long.
She wanted to smooch goodbye. I mean, that's telling right there. I thought that she wanted some kind of goodbye closure of some sort.
Yeah. Okay. So we're now at the Doppler house, June 23rd, 1954. 4 days until the apocalypse. Young Helge returns home, and Greta hugs him almost affectionately. And she notices all the scratches on his face and hands, but doesn't really say anything about them. Helge looks pretty ice cold here. He just says nothing and doesn't seem moved by his mother's emotion at all.
No, it looks to me like he thinks he's in trouble. Like he thinks he's going to come home and she's going to yell at him for his face being scratched up and his clothes being messy. That's what I read from the scene, is that he, was just scared that he was going to be in trouble. Instead of oh, I'm finally home. He's like, oh, I'm home again. And Mom's going to be mad.
See, I don't know. I viewed it, I saw that a little bit differently. Usually when he approached his mother, he was kind of he looked really scared, and he was covering his private parts and had his hands in front of him. Now that was when he had his pants off. But still, his demeanor was very meek and this, whereas he seems almost like a new Helge. He's more stoic and what can you do to me, mother? Because I'm now a special boy. He's he didn't.
Okay.
He was no longer afraid of her.
I think it might be a mixture of the two. He is still scared of her, but at this time, he has seen some stuff, just like our boy Nickel. Helge has seen ripples in time, and he has experienced all kinds of weird stuff. So, yeah, he probably is coming from, obviously, the two kids that we have seen time travel and did not mean to time travel, it's affected them greatly. You'd almost say negatively. So, give him some time to get his bearings, I guess.
Yeah, the person he's scared of now is more like Noah. Noah is now when he was in the chair. When he was in the chair, he was really scared and nervous.
Yes,
that was him, obviously scared. So I don't know. I just think he's there's a greater threat now.
Wait till you see what happens when Noah shows up later. I won't tell you, but just wait till you see what happens.
Well, I have seen it, but but anyway. The Wyndon Police Station, 1954. Egon is talking with Daniel Conwald, Chief of Police. They are musing on Ulrich's identity and the fact that he still hasn't revealed what his name is after 7 months. And Daniel notices that Egon is really distracted and asks him what's going on. And after a moment's hesitation, Egon asks Daniel if he and his wife still have any sex at all. And Daniel is like really surprised and says that Egon should go and blow off steam with another woman. And yeah, he's also like, he says something like, I didn't think they made them like you anymore. I don't know if I guess he was trying to say, well, I'll ask you, what did you make of that statement, Steve, when he said that?
Well, it's funny you ask, because that's what he said when the German subtitles. But when you look at when we watched it in English, he says, oh, I didn't know you were an old-fashioned boy. That's what he said in English for whatever reason. So I just think he means like a gentleman who, is above, sex and above emotions. And, just like an ice-cold gentleman that doesn't need to, beneath myself to have those petty fondlings. I think that's kind of what he meant, maybe. I don't know. I know he's the wrong guy to be giving Egon any advice right now, though.
Yeah, I mean, I took it like he was saying he was surprised that Egon brought up this topic because he thought, Egon never worried about such things. He's married to his job,
Okay.
Here I thought you were not interested in sex, basically. He was kind of shocked that he was bring up such a topic because perhaps Daniel's tried to do whatever dirty locker room talk with him before, and Egon has been too squeaky clean or kind of above it. But yeah.
He's I'm ashamed to call this guy a Conwald because he's related to Jonas, right? He's got Jonas's last name, so he seems more like a doesn't sound like a Tiedemann to me, but he seems more like a Bartosz type of character to me. This Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, technically he's not really. Daniel is a Conwald, but Jonas isn't really a Conwald when you think about it, because Enos adopted Mikkel, and he's a child of Mikkel.
Okay.
So he doesn't have any Conwald blood in him at all.
Good. Good. Okay, yep. Case closed. You got it. He's more of a Nielsen than anything else.
Yeah. He makes some other he makes some icky comments about women change after they have kids, and these are the laws of nature, just go blow off steam. And this is Inez's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I failed to make that connection too.
Yeah. The dude who likes Elvis and showed her how to make toast Hawaii.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he would dance around with his daughter in the living room. So, he's a fun guy. But he kind of sucks at the same time when you get right down to it.
The conversation ends when a policeman comes in the room and tells them that the Doppler boy has returned.
Right.
And they're kind of they think that the Doppler boy is dead. When he tells them he's back, he's like, oh, he's dead. No, he's returned. He came home. Young Claudia and Trant Nilsson are walking in the woods. They talk about their families. Claudia's sort of interrogating him for information about his life, and Trant shares he was in an orphanage before, but his mother doesn't like to talk about it. Also, she has a brother that we know is Noah, but they don't speak to each other. Claudia interrupts the talk to ask Trante to show it to me. And, hey, he pulls down his pants and looks upon the glory of Trant there. And I guess, the way I read this, Steve, is that, not Agnes, Claudia has just seen her mother doing things with Agnes and is now curious about sex. And so she's like, hey, I want to know what's going on, even though they're two women and Trant's a guy. But,
right, yeah.
That's how I kind of read it, is that they have this, she's sort of experimenting on Trant now.
I mean, that makes more sense than anything else I can think of, because this kind of just struck me out of the blue as well. I was like,
yeah,
they've talked about this obviously before, because he knew what she was referring to when she didn't actually have to say it. I kind of thought that she was digging him for information about Agnes, his mom, but instead she was digging for that what. But I thought it was funny as hell when I watched the intro to this show, with our beautiful song. And this scene is in the intro to the show. It's I thought it was hilarious when I saw that today.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting to muse upon why they chose one scene or another. But, this is one of the secrets. The secrets of Winden is this thing between Claudia and Trant, that they,
right,
that they have this secret relationship that started, and so then it turned into an affair later on. That they have this connection, and a lot of the scenes in the credits and the intro credits are related to the secrets, and some of them are sexual in nature that are part of that as well. So you're right, they have talked about this before, which is kind of odd to think about that. But I do think she was. You mentioned, well, maybe, she was digging for information for Trant, but no, I think she's been curious about both of them. She was asking them, and the last time they took a walk in the woods, she was asking him questions about his mom and how glamorous she was. And so, I think
handsome he is.
Yeah, he looks like James Dean and all that. So I think she's curious about both of them. She probably is very curious about Agnes, especially now that what she's seen earlier that day.
Thoughts bubbling through my head.
Okay.
Something you probably can't answer.
Yeah.
We don't know who Regina's dad is. They haven't revealed this to us yet. We just know that she's raised by Claudia.
They have not revealed, yes.
I got my number one suspect right here. I mean, I don't know. That's just something that just popped through my head, and I don't know the answer, but I'm willing to bet on it, unless it's some kooky time travel thing that happens.
I think that is what you're supposed. That's definitely that's what you're supposed to think.
I'm being led. Yes. Okay.
Because of these secrets and lies. All right. Well, in 1987, Claudia is at her house and talking to Regina as she leaves for school. Claudia was looking at the time machine in the suitcase, but quickly hides it when she hears Regina's voice. Regina is looking for her book, which is called The Ghosts. And it turns out that most people believe this is the play, The Ghosts, or Ghost.
Okay.
Rick Ibsen. We were talking about what book, or what this book is. Yeah. And one of the reasons people feel like it's the play is because there's a character in that play named Regina. Okay.
So obviously, I guessed wrong last week. And you were nice, and you didn't correct me. So
I'd forgotten. I was like, I think that the book does come up later. Like in the last The last episode, I don't think they said, maybe she said they were reading a book, but we didn't see the book.
Right. And I was guessing that it was a book, and I guessed the wrong book. But, I was like, I'm sure it's this book. And you were like, oh, maybe so. And I was, were you just goading me along like a baby? But nope.
But the play is about, the play has like incest in it and then sexual scandal. So, I mean, that's what Ibsen liked. So it,
okay.
Yeah, I didn't look too closely at the synopsis. So Claudia remarks how grown up she looks and that she likes the way she's wearing her hair. So this is like, this is in contrast to what we saw of Claudia before. She was like berating her and trying to, now she's like, hey, let's spend the day together. Why don't you skip school and just hang out with me? And Regina's like, I kind of wanted to go to the lake with all of my friends. Yep. So now it's the, what is that? Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon.
That's right.
It's Regina's getting a taste of her own medicine, We're not gonna, I don't have time for you, Mom. And then,
and that's something that Claudia was saying last scene to Trant. She was like, I won't be like that to my kids. I'll like pay attention to my kids and stuff. I just wanted to call back that on that she, this is like a last ditch effort right here. Like as Regina's walking out the door, but we know that she doesn't become that type of cool mom that is always understanding her kid.
I don't remember that, but I think Regina. Oh, you're talking about Regina.
I'm talking about Claudia. Claudia and Trant in the woods right before Trant showed her. She was complaining about her mom, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be like that kind of parent when I have kids."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Claudia muses on the word time, which seemed a little odd. She's like, time, and goes to her bookshelf. And there she finds the book Journey Through Time by H.G. Tannhaus, and remembers that Helge gave her the book a year ago.
Right. Yes, you're right about the cats in the cradle. I didn't think about that aspect. I was thinking this is more of the skipping school paradox is what I was going to call this. We heard about the bootstrap paradox from HG. And I'll tell you about the skipping school paradox.
Please do.
It's when a kid is like in like middle school, maybe like up to about age 14. That's absolutely what they want to do. They want their parent to say, hey, let's take a day off school and let's skip it and let's go to the zoo or let's go, have a fun day. And the kid's like, yay. Parents don't do that until their kids actually don't want to do it. Like that's what Hannah did with Jonas. That's what they did in Yellow Jackets earlier this year. I've seen it happen in Severance. We're seeing it happen here again. Like these parents are just asking way too late. It's a paradox. It's like, yes, your kid wants to do that with you, but they want to do it when they're younger, not when they have like, better things to do or actual responsibilities like tests to take. So you're asking a little too late there.
Or in like Marta's case, she was in the play. She couldn't miss school. She was in the play.
That's right. Oh, that's right. There's another example right there. Another parent trying to do the skip school thing.
But yeah, that was so funny when Hannah's like, "Why don't you skip school? We'll hang out." And Jonas is like, "Mama."
That's all he says.
Yeah,
you're pathetic.
And one more thing before we move on. Claudia was wearing another killer outfit with those blue parachute pants and the blue shirt, neon pink. I mean, that seems to be the blue and neon pink. And then Regina's in the yellow blouse, which she was in the yellow pumps before. Yellow, the color of love.
And the book Ghosts was in a yellow cover as well.
All right, so now Egon is in his kitchen doing what we always imagine him doing, listening to death metal. He's got the Creator's Pleasure to Kill album, and somehow he's put two and two together and remembered the lyrics to the song, and he seems quite satisfied to remember this clue and figures that Ulrich's song quote back in 1953 was somehow an admission of guilt, just as he thought it was all along.
And he's got that smug look on his face. He's such a goof. Like, I love how this is like such a red herring for him, but like he seizes upon it. But I guess, he kind of has to, because he sees the anachronistic nature of it. So I wonder if he's like looking at like the liner notes, like, is Ulrich in this band? Was this his band perhaps?
I've had him in prison in the psych ward, but somehow he's been able to release an album. Yeah, it did make me wonder too, like, now that you're saying it, it's like, how did he find this? Like, did he go to a music store and quote the lyrics? Do you know this song? Like.
Well, maybe he remembers the album, like when he went into the young Ulrich's room, like 6 or 7 months ago, I guess, in the timeline. Maybe that was enough. But yeah, maybe he did go in there and quote the lyrics, and like the clerk was like, hell yeah, dude, we got that album, check it out. You want to hear some Dark Throne while you're at it?
Or did he go to Yana's house and, well, no, Yana's now, never mind. I was like, because he was in Ulrich's house and saw the record before, but he had to go buy his own copy, I guess.
I hope so, for the artist's sake, yeah.
But yeah, he had such a smug look on his face. It's odd. Okay,
we'll give it to him. It's a win. It's a win for you.
Yeah, at least he's kind of, things are moving around in the old skull.
Yep.
1954, young Egon is at the home of Greta and Bernd Doppler. He wants to question young Helge as to where he's been the last few days. Helge hasn't spoken since he returned. He finds out. Egon goes into Helge's room and asks him questions. Greta is reprimanding Helge because he isn't speaking.
Right. We don't like that. And Egon doesn't like that either. He kind of gives her a look like, that's not going to work, lady. And I do think that we might see later on. I keep referring to when Noah shows up. Well, let's just wait till Noah shows up, because maybe Noah will have some different words about how Helge should be treated. This reminded me a lot of another show with a young, well-dressed boy who didn't speak for a long time and kind of drove people crazy from 1899. I think they like young boys who don't talk. Mm-hmm.
Yep. For some reason, that's one of their things that they enjoy. 1987, Claudia asks Helge about the book he gave her. I feel so bad for Helge because nobody actually ever well, Peter does. Peter goes to visit him with no motives except he wants to see his dad. But Egon went to see him and was questioning him.
Right.
Claudia is doing the same thing. She's like, I wanted to see how you're doing, but why did you give me this book? Like, she really wants to know about the book. He says Claudia is the only one who maybe can understand him. And he quotes the words Noah said to him, "Time is always with you. Wherever you go, you carry it within you, and it carries you. It sees and hears everything that you do and say." Claudia isn't sure what any of this means, but Helge says that Noah told him it was a battle between good and evil. She asks who Noah is, and Helge gets scared and tells her not to trust him.
Yeah, forcefully. Like, I guess this lays a lot of the basic groundwork for like the Noah and the Claudia stuff coming later, but I don't know. This scene is odd. it verifies not your theory, but I was thinking that Helg was dement, but obviously, Helg is not, because, he remembers a lot of stuff. He just keeps a lot of things to himself. And the TikTok thing, of course, we know that comes from this episode too. That's what Noah says to him when he's little. It says TikTok. And so now that's kind of what he does when he wants to end a conversation. He just starts saying TikTok, and then the conversation's over.
Yeah, but again, he's just quoting things people said to him.
Yeah.
He does have a great memory for, he could be like on the autism spectrum.
Yeah,
he's just like, he has this memory for quotes.
Sure.
And so it kind of, when I heard this, I was like, okay, he was quoting Ulrich before, and now he's quoting Noah. But they're such great quotes that it's almost like one of these robots, that like toy bears, and you press the paw and it says like 3 words or 3 different phrases, and they make sense in many situations. If you go around quoting stuff like this, you sound pretty thoughtful, and people will be impressed.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But I do kind of think he has moments of clarity, and he really, I feel like he does care about Claudia, and so when she mentions the word Noah, he got scared for her. He's like, defensive. You stay away from him.
Yeah, because all this weird stuff happened to me. I don't want that to happen to you. Maybe that's why he gave her the book, so like bad things wouldn't happen to her.
Yeah.
Well, for this next scene, I'm going to take over for 1 second, Lindsay, and I'm going to go over this next scene. I'm going to recap this next scene for us. Okay, Noah comes out of the Sic Mundus building. He puts on a hat. Okay, next scene is for you, Lindsay. That was the whole scene. That's all he did.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, why'd they waste so much time on him just walking out, putting on a hat, and then walking through the yard?
Parallelism, Steve. Remember when young Noah come out of the building in another episode did the same exact. I don't think he wore a hat, but he came out of the building. I was ready for some deep thoughts from Steve. I was like, I want to hear this. Okay.
Actually,
yes.
No, my deep thought is I'm gonna have to take a break. So we'll come back to the next scene in just a moment, Lindsay. Thank you for bearing with me. We'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. And Lindsay, up to you now. Where are we in our story?
Okay, well, after Noah came out of the building and put on a hat.
Oh, yeah, the hat.
We see Agnes wearing her yellow dress and walking towards the hatch. Mm-hmm. She goes down to meet somebody, and it's old Claudia. They talk about Noah and the fact that Agnes is related to him. And it's now 4 days until the news cycle.
Right.
Claudia gives her a newspaper clipping. She is supposed to give her this. Agnes looks surprised and folds up the paper and takes it with her. We don't see what's in the paper.
Not yet, right.
Yeah. Claudia looks at her fondly and tells Agnes that her mother, Doris, loves Agnes, and she thanks Agnes for her work towards the cause, and they hug.
Yeah, interesting scene. Like, she just came from young Claudia, and now she's with old Claudia. And she says, give this newspaper clipping to me. Mm-hmm. And she makes some kind of insinuation, like, it's no hurry, it doesn't have to be today. So I guess she's going to give that newspaper article to Claudia later on, at a later date. Mm-hmm. Probably to prove some kind of point, some kind of proof. To tell Claudia look what I got here. Like that's what they love to do in this show. Is like the older version comes back and tells younger versions of people what's going to happen, which I'm a sucker for. I like it. I'm with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a surprise. Yeah, I'm like, what? Agnes is working with... Oh, and then Claudia also says Sic Mundus, but she doesn't say Sic Mundus Curiatus Est, does she?
There's a short version. So she's not a true believer.
Yeah. So then, in an unknown time, Claudia walks into the shop of H.G. Tannhaus and wants to know if he wrote the book Journey Through Time. So this is middle-aged Claudia.
Okay, gotcha.
He notices her heterochromia and tells her he knows who she is, and he's been waiting for her to show up. This Claudia has never seen him before, but he has seen her before.
Right.
As an older version.
It would almost work better if we could discuss like this whole thing with Claudia and HG like in one chunk, because the way they intersperse it with all the other action, it almost kind of loses a little something. I mean, it gains momentum as it goes, because you learn a little bit more each time. But yeah, right now at this point, we're just kind of like we're not filled in with some of these blanks quite yet, but they will be answered, I think, in the next couple scenes that we see with them.
So then in 1954, young Egon and Daniel discuss that Helge won't talk. And they realize that Ulrich has been in prison, so how could he have been involved in the murders? They believe maybe Ulrich had an accomplice. And Daniel tells him to go visit Ulrich again.
Huh? I'm like, what? Where did this whole accomplice thing come from? Out of friggin' thin air. And go visit him again? Like, none of this makes a whole lot of sense coming from Daniel. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust his... It's not that I don't trust him. I just don't think he's got his head on straight.
Yeah. I mean, it's typical police... I feel like it's a typical police trope that, like, when you're... If they realize they made a mistake with Ulrich, then that means they have nothing. They have nobody, no suspects, and they don't have nothing they can tell anybody, just like Winden in 2019, 2020. That's what Charlotte and Ulrich were dealing with, is everybody complaining.
Nothing's being
You've been
done
on this case for months and months and you have nothing.
Right.
In 1987, old Egon is interviewing old Ulrich at the psychiatric ward. Yes.
It reminds me of like, I can't remember that movie where it's like Jack Nicholson and some other old guy and they're like just kind of hanging out together looking all old. And I'm like, oh, this is cute. Like they're old buddies going fishing or something.
Egon asks Ulrich about the song lyrics and what they mean. He points out that Ulrich quoted the lyrics back in 1953, but the song came out on vinyl just a few years ago. And also, how do you know about me having cancer? And then Ulrich is just kind of quiet for the most part. He doesn't really say much. Egon then realizes Ulrich's hair and uniform is white and wonders if he is the White Devil. And last, he asks why you never gave your name, and then Ulrich says, I'm Ulrich Nielsen.
Yeah, shouldn't he be freaking out right now, Egon? Like with that revelation? Or is he still just putting it all together?
I don't know. This is making me upset because it's making me think of when poor little Mikkel came to him and he said, what's your father's name? Ulrich Nielsen. You know, and then Egon's like, oh, Ulrich's just putting you up for a joke. You know, it's like, is this Egon? Is he going to say like, oh, Ulrich, did Ulrich send you? It's like, no, dude, I've been here in this time. It's like
It's funny you brought the album too. Like you gotta wonder what's going through Ulrich's head here. He's like, okay, he's bringing me this album. Like, I remember this album from 33 years ago. Okay, like, why would you bring this in here?
Yeah, he's like, you quoted that back to me. Do you remember this in this record? You know, like, but yeah, it's not dawning on Egon at all. Where else have I heard this song?
He'll get it.
I've heard it at young Ulrich's house.
I guess it's like it's coming to him out of context, so it's not it's not coming to him during his work hours, like things are happening like in weird timing, so he's not picking it up. And this whole White Devil thing, I really strongly believe, just based on what Helge said 2 episodes ago, he talked about young Helge, that is. He talked about the White Devil, and then he talked about the man with the rock. So I'm thinking the White Devil is Noah, and the man with the rock is obviously Ulrich. So I don't think Ulrich is this White Devil that they keep talking about. But I know that Ulrich thinks it's funny. Like, what are you talking about, the White Devil? It's amusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, at least this time he didn't sniff his breath.
Right.
Have you been at the bottle again, Egon?
Oh, is that that's what he was smelling them for? You didn't clarify that for me last time. That makes so much sense. That's what he was doing, was smelling his breath.
Oh, okay.
I did not put that together.
You realized that. You said he was being Hannibal Lecter.
Right.
Like,
I meant that.
What did you have for dinner?
Right.
What would you taste like right now? Okay, so then we're back with Tannhaus and Claudia. He speaks to her about the bootstrap paradox. If an object from the future is sent to the past, then the object has no origin. He tells Claudia that the book was given to him and he doesn't remember writing it.
So he has to have written it at some point, though, because it's right there in print. He wrote it sometime between being the young HG that we meet at the beginning and this old HG that's talking to the young Claudia. He had to have written it in maybe he just had the book there, so he just copied it word for word and handed it into his publisher. One of those kind of deals. But he had to go through some sort of motion to get it published in some specific year, I would think.
I mean, I think if we think about another there's different examples of bootstrap paradoxes that we have in the show.
Okay.
Perhaps, the
penny.
Yeah, the coin that was Ulrich gave it to Helge, who then has it that Ulrich finds later, So, they don't really clarify this later. Perhaps Claudia brings the book to Claudia brought the book to Tan. Actually, Ulrich brought it, didn't he? Ulrich actually, because Ulrich does the same thing, comes in and says, "Is this you?"
Yes.
So the book was given to young Tannhaus before he even wrote it. Are we to believe that, he then published it from there? But it's anyway. There are many bootstrap paradox things in this show, and if we thought long enough, we could probably write them all down, but.
Oh, dang it. We should do more research. Maybe next episode we'll have this bootstrap paradox down to a T.
Yeah. But he's explaining also that, if you hadn't shown me how to use this machine, then I wouldn't know how it works.
Right.
And then now you're coming to me to find out how it works. And I'm going to show you, and then in the future you're going to show me how it works. So it's
I have a note for that comes up scenes from now, so I'm going to save it.
Oh, okay. I guess I jumped a little ahead there. Okay. 1954, Egon goes to visit Ulrich at the station. So this is the younger Egon. We just saw older Egon go to visit older Ulrich. Now we have younger Egon going to visit younger Ulrich at the station. He stands outside Ulrich's cell, afraid to go in. He asks to know his name. Ulrich isn't saying anything, of course, and that we kind of expect that because Ulrich looks in really bad shape here. He looks like he's been beaten. He's wearing a straitjacket, and nobody's believed anything he had to say up to this point. So why would he now be an assistant to Egon and be helpful?
He's medicated too, highly medicated.
Yeah, and the guy makes a point of saying that he's on this medication, and he knows probably whatever he says will be used against him. Yep. And then he does try to speak, but can't really seem to. Either he chooses not to, or he literally cannot put the words together until Egon leaves and the door closes, and then Ulrich says, "I'm Ulrich Nielsen."
Yeah, I think that was a choice, personally. That's how I saw it anyway. That he could have said that to him at that time, but he did not. Something interesting, like, I'm kind of a literalist. You know, my brain works kind of weird. So what you just said about how anything he says can be used against him makes me think about, the Miranda law, how you say you have the right to remain silent. I've always thought that meant like that's the only right you have right now is to be silent. So just shut up and do what we're saying. And I realize now that that's not, it took me many years into my adulthood to realize what that actually means is that's your right to be silent if you want to be. You don't have to say a word to these police. You don't have to say one word whatsoever. That's your right. So I think here Ulrich is exercising his right to remain silent. Even though he's not an American, he's a German, but still.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the deal is they can't make you implicate yourself.
Right.
I think is part of it too. But you're right. That is, you have the right to say nothing. And, he chooses that. But it is interesting how when the door closes, he says, "I'm Ulrich Nielsen." But but also then before he almost opens his mouth as if to say something. But then closes it, and I was just like, okay, was he not able to make, was he so drugged he couldn't make the words, or did he truly choose, like, not to say anything?
Well, it's up for interpretation. My interpretation is that he could have said it, and he chose not to, and he's like just saying to himself as Egon leaves, I'm not going to tell you who I am, but I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm Ulrich Nielsen. So that's not your interpretation. Your interpretation is that he wasn't able to speak.
Well, I've always seen it. I believe I've always seen it as he chooses not to speak. Okay. Because he chooses not to speak because he doesn't believe that anybody will help him.
Okay.
But now, seeing it this time, I kind of questioned that. I was like, did Ulrich think for 1 second about maybe speaking? And then maybe he decided too late to say something, and he wasn't going to yell for anybody to come back. But I don't know.
Come back, Mr. Nice Man. Tragic. I want to talk.
It's all tragic. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'd think, I guess, I'm thinking about myself. I'm an extrovert, okay? I would probably, if someone came to visit me, I'd probably talk just to have somebody to talk to.
Okay.
And I get that Ulrich doesn't like him, but it's like he's kind of almost in this, he's in this isolation ward and never, no friends in sight. He's just being beat upon. Couldn't Oryx Scheherazade this guy? Like, I'll tell you the rest of the story if you come back to I don't know. It's just
Apparently
sad. I kind of, like, part of me is like, you want him to speak to see if maybe Egon will help him and that he can get out. But, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so then in 1987, Egon looks through his files and sees the record of the strange boy that showed up claiming his father
was Ulrich.
Come on, Egon, this is your chance. This is your chance to really solve the case.
I know. Well, I mean, I kind of think he's with it here. His mind is being blown.
So then in 87, Tannhaus asks why Claudia is here. She looks at the suitcase, and Tannhaus guesses she wants to know how it works. Claudia seems surprised, but Tannhaus says that her future self told him that her younger self would come one day. So then in 1954, the Doppler house. Noah arrives at the house to see how Helge is getting on. Greta is beside herself with worry, and when Helge comes down, he runs to Noah and hugs him. Greta looks on at Noah in wonder and amazement as Helge even speaks when prompted by Noah. He reads scripture, and Noah says, "He is a miracle. Don't forget that."
That's right. He stresses to be kind to Helge and, don't yell at him when police officers come around, ma'am. You got to be nice to this young boy. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't seem scared of Noah at all here. You were saying earlier that he seemed like he was scared of Noah. And, here he runs up and hugs him. And he's like, "Oh, finally, it's my priest guy." Seems like he likes him pretty well here, right?
I think he likes him when he's not strapping him into the chair. When I said he was afraid of him, I meant he was afraid of the chair, like not of Noah. I do think he likes Noah, but he doesn't necessarily like being in that chair.
Yeah. Nobody does. Nobody likes it. And that's why they got to force kids to do it, because no one's lining up to volunteer.
If only they would. Okay, so then 1987, Egon goes to see Inez. He wants to talk to Mikkel, but, of course, Inez isn't having it at all. Egon wonders if Mikkel ever mentions his parents, and Inez denies everything. And he's going to come back and try to talk to Mikkel again tomorrow. And then Egon notices the sleeping pills. And then Inez tells him they are for herself. And then Egon asks for a picture of the boy. For the file only.
Man,
yeah.
A lot of red flags happening here. The color red is really showing up. He's sleeping in the middle of the day. We find the sleeping pills. Like last episode, she's all like, the past is the past. Just forget the past, Mikkel. Don't even worry about it. I'm not seeing fantastic parenting happening here. Yes, she has a house. Yes, she's available. And yes, they like each other. But I'm not sure if she's actually equipped to parent this young boy here, especially in the state that he's in. Yep, we cut out and lost the record. I was saying a bunch of bad stuff about Inez. Lindsay, what do you think about this scene and these sleeping pills and her sleeping, or not her sleeping, but Mikkel sleeping in the middle of the day?
Yeah, in defense of Inez, I don't like this. I don't like this, but because I know he's not crazy. I know he's got, right here, Egon, this is his chance, right, to talk to Mikkel and be like, who are your parents? And then it would all be resolved. But Inez doesn't know that. She thinks that he could be having a mental breakdown, so she's like, I need to protect him, and the way I need to protect him is to help him to get rid of these delusions that he's from a future time. If I give him enough drugs, he'll forget all about it.
Well, that's very generous of you to defend the drug giver.
The drug lady, the drug lord, drug lady.
Yeah, I'm straight up just not liking it. Straight up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have any defense for her. Just like you said, everything could have been solved with a simple conversation between these two guys, Egon and Mikkel. And it didn't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. At least I hope it does. We've got, what, 7? No, we got 5 more episodes in this season, so hopefully Egon and Mikkel start talking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Egon's ready to accept time travel. I mean, I'd like to think he is, but he's a little straight-laced for my taste. All right, so then 1954, the Sick Munda's house. Noah enters, takes off his hat. No, I'm just kidding. But he might have. He enters and finds Agnes inside the chapel. Agnes wants back into the fold and is willing to give Noah the missing pages of the diary as payment to give to Adam. She tells him she will betray Claudia to be admitted again by Adam. She'll kind of betray Claudia. She'll betray Claudia like at Claudia's insistence or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. It's like she's definitely playing double duty. Yeah, she's a double agent here. She's trying to get back into Sic Mundus. Yep. She does it. She's going to do it by betraying Claudia, but we just saw her talking to Claudia. Yeah, they're definitely on this. It looks clear to me that the two women are on the same scene. So I wasn't really trusting what she was saying to Noah here. So I kind of more trust what she's saying when she's talking to Claudia. That's just my take. I think that's the general viewer take. I think that's kind of how you're supposed to view it. So in 1954, Egon looks at Ulrich's photo. In walks old Claudia, coming to visit him. Egon wonders what she wants. He notices she has heterochromia just like his daughter. Claudia begins apologizing for the way things turned out. She tells Egon that he is a good man and that the world doesn't deserve him. He doesn't know what to make of this and feels really suspicious of Claudia and is like, either you tell me what's going on or you leave. And maybe he thinks she could be an accomplice of Ulrich with her white hair and tattered clothing. Right. And Claudia leaves just as quickly as she came. Well, kind of. She kind of sat there and stared at him for a very long time at the beginning without saying a word. This is a really strange interaction that I wasn't quite on board with. I mean, it was cool, but I don't know if it was necessary for her to come there and apologize to him and confuse him the way he did. And I think that's a good point about the hair, because she does kind of resemble Ulrich. So maybe. I don't know. The only thing I got from this scene, I hate to say, I mean, besides, I like seeing them smile at each other, of course. I like watching actors act. But I'm just thinking about this in the scheme of the show. And, this scene probably could have been skipped and we would have been okay, I think. But she calls him a mensch. And it's one of these words I didn't realize. I always thought like that was just a word that you say to people when they're friendly. Like, hey, he's a real mensch. I didn't know that was a German word. I think that's neat that I just learned that like earlier this week. Because, we say things like laissez-faire, and that's not an English word. And we say things like mensch, and that's not an English word either. Okay. Did you say what it meant? Because yeah, like when she said, like, you're a great guy,
You're wonderful. She says mensch a couple of times, like in that
Okay.
Context.
So you determined it just means that you're a good guy?
Oh no, I know that's what it means.
That what?
That word has been
Okay.
in my life, like all my life. It's just like a Jewish. I think it's like a Yiddish phrase for like a good
Yeah,
person.
that's what I always thought. It was a Yiddish phrase. But yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a weird scene. It's like I always kind of wonder why she didn't. I mean, why she didn't say more.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
if you really want to help your father, talk to him.
Yeah, popping in like this isn't really helpful.
Yeah.
Oh,
So then oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that this does kind of help explain a little bit about Egon, old Egon. You know, he's the drinking Egon, likes to drink to forget. You know, his wife left him, all that kind of stuff. Tucked in with all that, we now know that he has this like weird experience like between like his daughter and this old woman and the parallelism, which you're getting ready to talk about it now. And then he has this whole like Ulrich thing with the band and like the lyrics and Mikkel. So what I'm trying to say is like Egon has all this weird stuff rolling through his head. He has no resolution to it. So he kind of thinks he's crazy probably. And that's probably what led him to drinking, is he probably thinks he's nuts. But we know he's not. He's just a victim of time travel.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I look at it like Egon, not so much that he thinks he's crazy, but he's like this detective that hasn't solved this case, and it's kind of haunted his life because people like Ulrich think of him as the world's biggest loser. You know, like, you're a failure in all the ways, but if you could at least do one thing right, that thing, you know, most men find identity through work. Like, if you were successful at your job, at least you'd have that. But here he has like no resolution for this mystery of these missing boys and this thing with Ulrich. But I don't know. Like, I always think he looks at it as like, everybody else is the problem. I'm the one that's fine, you know. I'm just surrounded by crazy people, you know, like these weirdos come to me and I have to deal with them.
Right. These Satanists.
These Satanists. Yeah. I do think her statement is interesting. You're a good man and the world doesn't deserve you. I'm not sure that I agree with that. You know,
Well, that's what she thinks.
Yeah, and I know that you have expressed before, you know, you think he's on the side of light. You've used that statement, or like you picked out white as the Egon's color was white.
That's right.
So you definitely view him as a good guy.
I do.
Which I find interesting because it's like, I guess I view him as kind of, I've told you, I've called him an idiot. I'm like, honey, he's just not the sharpest tool in the shed there.
Yeah,
so
30 minutes ago I called him a goofball. I mean, yeah, I do agree with all those things. But I do agree that he is a good person, and Claudia confirmed that for me this episode.
Good intentions, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Good intentions. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so then Claudia returns to work with her suitcase in hand, 1987. No Gretchen here, which is a little sad, but she tells her secretary to cancel all her appointments. The secretary tells her that her father is waiting in the office. Claudia comes into the office impatient for Egon to leave so she can think about the time machine some more. Egon finally reveals that he has cancer and decided his daughter should know. And she finally stops and gives him a hug and calls him Papa.
And I guess this might be a big reason why she shows up later on in his police office, just to pop in and tell him that, you know, he's a good guy. Because I kind of get the vibe, like, from this scene that he's just a nuisance to her until, you know, of course she finds out that, you know, he has terminal cancer. Then he's not so much of a nuisance anymore, is he?
Yeah, because she's pretty rude to him.
Yes, she is.
Here, so maybe she feels bad about the way she kind of treated him during this time.
Now, where was her head at though? She was going to time travel before she ran into him, right? Because she's
I'm not sure if she was going to time travel, because I don't think she would have time travel in her office.
No, but she's like, cancel all my appointments.
But I do think she wanted to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I mean, she was going to work. She arrived at the office.
But then she said, cancel all my appointments. And like,
Well, why would she walk into the office and say, why would she walk into work and say, cancel all my appointments? I think she was going to her office to stare at the time machine and kind of poke at it and maybe read the Journey Through Time book, because she has her book, she has her suitcase. You know, unless she was leaving for the day and not coming for the day. I thought she was arriving at work because we've seen her at Tannhouse's place. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. She probably was going to stare at the time machine some, but we know that later on this very day, she does use the time machine. So I think that she, that's what I think she was doing, was coming to work, cancel all my appointments. I'm going right to the cave right now. I think that's where she was heading, was to the cave.
Okay. Maybe she was going to get her rappelling equipment and all of her, you know, a new snazzy outfit that was more appropriate for cave spelunking. I don't know. So then in 1954, young Egon comes home and finds young Claudia at the kitchen table. He has a bouquet of flowers and greets his daughter. Claudia notices that he looks sad. He tells her he thinks he saw a witch today. And Claudia teases her father that witches don't apologize, so you couldn't have seen a witch, because he said the witch came in and said that I'm sorry. She then notices the flowers and tells him the world doesn't deserve him, just like her older self did. And Egon feels really uneasy about these two conversations.
Yeah, you can see it on his face. He's starting to question weirdness in this woman who showed up in his office. I'm now that I think about it, I'm glad she showed up and did that thing, because it gave him and his daughter this little moment to connect and have a little joke together.
Yeah.
Again, the future dictating the past.
Have we talked about the movie After Sun?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, permit me just a moment here to I guess I'm sort of promoting the movie After Sun too, but I feel like that movie for me kind of captures what you're talking about here. Is that in this movie, a girl and her father go on vacation to Sicily. It's somewhere, Sicily or something. Anyway, they're on this lovely vacation and they're just doing nice things together. But the guy is really depressed and the girl is not exactly aware of that fact, but she knows something's off. And they're having these conversations, and we're watching this sort of recorded, a lot of it is recorded footage shot on a video camera, sort of like camcorder memories. And so we realize later the girl is watching it in the future. So for part of the movie, so like we have this younger girl, and at the same time, the older girl becomes a presence also. And it's like this concept of, with parents and kids, you can never hold each other at the same time. Like when you're a parent, you're the one who's taking care of your child. And then, so there's an uneven balance, right? The parent is the caretaker, the child is the one that's cared for. Then you grow up and there's this reversal. And sometimes it's not until you're an adult and your parents might even be dead or becoming senile that you start to see them really clearly. Sure. And you can start to care for them. But it never happens at the same time that you can like love each other equally. There's always this sort of imbalance. And that's kind of what you're talking about here with Claudia. Claudia is a young girl here. She doesn't really know what's going on with her father. Now, as an older woman, she kind of wishes she could reach out through time,
right,
and do something nice for him. And I guess that this was her attempt to do that. So Claudia really can reach through time. However, he doesn't realize she's his daughter. Sure. He has no knowledge of that. So the moment for him isn't quite as poignant. But for Claudia, it's probably very poignant that, here, I'm gonna reach out to my father, but does he think about this moment? When he thinks about this moment, he might just be thinking, "There's that batty old woman." Remember that weirdo showed up in my office,
right?
So yeah, that's a really great movie to kind of talk about this. It's sort of a time travel movie without it being time travel because it's all realistically done.
Yeah, that's neat. So I guess she's like seeing like all these clues that she wished she picked up on in these videos.
Yeah.
That sounds great. The After Sun?
Mm-hmm.
S-U-N or S-O-N?
S-U-N.
Okay, great.
Yeah, okay. So back to the recap. Mm-hmm. Old Egon goes to visit Ulrich again in 1987. This time he shows Ulrich the photo of Mikkel. Ulrich ends up in a rage and almost chokes Egon. And it's kind of unclear what Egon's plan was. So he was showing him this, and like you mentioned, he almost seems to be bonding with him. He starts to talk about kids and how, he just starts to talk about what it's like to be a parent, and like he's reaching out to Ulrich, which is crazy. Does he think that maybe by showing him this picture, it might raise Ulrich's sympathies enough to get him to confess? Like maybe he can get him to feel bad about like the fact that he took somebody's kid away. But Ulrich, for him, it's like, hey, you took my kid away from me, like, and it's your fault. Or maybe he was just calling his bluff to see what happened.
It is a perception game, because Egon could have been like, this is it. Like, this is the key. This is one of the keys to, like, solve my case so my life means something. So I think that's kind of the angle he was coming from. Like, I get to solve this big case finally. He forgot that, like, Ulrich has a lot of feelings and emotions tied in. And he gets to see Ulrich's perspective now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, you would like to think that Egon could sympathize with Ulrich, but he's only really seen him as an animal, Kind
of, yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of proves his case right here, right? Ulrich, that is.
Yeah, but, okay, like, again, like, if you were in any way... If Egon was this is what I'm saying about Egon, okay? Like, he might be a good person, quote unquote, trying to do the right thing, but he is emotionally stunted. Like, he doesn't... Oh. Because if he could, he could have gotten Helge to talk to him. He could have gotten, he got Jonas to smile that one time, but, like, the way he approaches people is so tonally deaf. I mean, if you wanted to get Ulrich to confess, if you're like, okay, let's go with the fact that this is this guy's kid, how should I talk to this guy who's like missing his kid? Like, what do you expect him to do? I mean, he thinks this is his child. Like, he just doesn't have the mental capacity to empathize with anybody else.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, it makes me mad. Because now it's just like, Ulrich, I think he's an animal and he is an animal, but like Egon brings that out in people because he's just
Yep.
Yes, I guess somebody might be getting my worst character award. Okay. Somebody will, for sure. Did you want to say anything about this scene, Steve?
No. Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't have anything poignant to bring into the conversation, so I'm not going to pretend to.
Okay. So, in 1954, young Tannhaus is visited by old Claudia.
Finally.
The time machine isn't ready for her yet. He wants to know what it's for. In fact, so he doesn't say the time machine. He just is like, the machine. He just followed these blueprints that he's following.
And this is where she says something like, you'll have plenty of time to put this together. You got 33 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I like the fact that it's Jonas who fills in the gap here. It's like Claudia gave him the blueprints, and then Tannhaus explained how it worked, but without Jonas in the middle of all that, it wouldn't be possible. So I think it's cool that how he kind of pops up in the middle of this whole transaction and provides like the missing information that they need, which is like how the thing actually works. And he didn't build it and he didn't design it, but he's the one who knows how it works.
Yeah. We've got Jonas and Claudia are almost like silent partners.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
Because like we see him listening to her tapes in different, but they're kind of having this conversation in different time periods. And then here again, Claudia and Jonas are both doing interactions with Tannhaus that are leading to this creation of these machines. So it's interesting. Like if Claudia and Noah are enemies, then like Claudia and Jonas are like best buds or like
without even knowing
partners, Yeah. So then our musical interlude, Melody X by Bonaparte. Helge prays with the St. Christopher pendant. Egon looks at the creator record. Ulrich looks out a window holding Mikkel's photo. Greta watches Helge praying. Egon comes downstairs to find Doris and Agnes having drinks. And middle-aged Claudia loads some cesium into the machine.
Yeah, so middle-aged Claudia here she's already got the jump on this time travel thing. So I guess she's now a time traveler. She's schooled in. And
where was she? I'm like, where was she when? Where was she loading?
In the caves, right by those yellow
in the
barrels.
caves. Okay.
Same place older Claudia was.
That's right.
Yep. I didn't have much else to say about this except for I like watching Egon always gazing at the album cover. He's we see like Ulrich looking at his picture of his son and Egon's all like, look at these long-haired boys.
That's kind of in all the chaos. Ulrich got the photo.
Yes.
At least he has that picture, Like that's kind of nice. I like that for him.
It is, and it probably drives him insane. He's like, what? My Mikkel is here, but it's 1987. And like, I'm old, so what the hell is Mikkel doing here? I guess he time traveled like I did. Did his brain go there? Like, it's great. I like it.
So old Claudia walks towards a shack. Claudia is confronted by Noah, who's holding a shotgun pointed at her chest. He taunts Claudia that Agnes betrayed her. He says that Claudia took everything from him. Claudia is unfazed. She knows she's going to die and taunts Noah back. He thinks he is in control, but he's actually following the plan that she put in place, and he's a pawn of Adam. Noah hesitates for a moment, but shoots her anyway, and he moves toward the body to find the missing pages. He goes through her clothes and finds the pages and is devastated by what he reads. Something about Charlotte.
Yeah, what about Charlotte? Lindsay, tell me, what's going on? What are these missing pages all about?
Yeah, all he says is, this cannot be Charlotta.
Yeah, he's stunned here. He's like, you can tell he's stunned. It's like he doesn't even really want to shoot her, but he does, and he shoots her because she made him shoot her. It's such an interesting scene. Claudia's really messing with our heads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have anything else for the scene?
I really want to know what those darn pages are. And I want to know why he's upset about them, and I want to know what Charlotte has to do with this. So yeah, I have a lot to say, but it's just mostly questions. We'll see no more. I mean, we'll see more Claudia probably because she pops in and out of time all over the place. So I'm assuming we're still going to see her. But like, this is basically like where nothing new can happen. Like they say, like it was Peter and Trant who were sitting in there. They're like, oh, well, the cycle, starts today, and after today, everything is new. And it's the exact opposite here. Like, this is where Claudia's cycle ends, and she can't do anything new from this point. All she can do is what she has done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of life left. I mean, we see her later in this episode.
Yep. She never goes away.
But yeah, I think the big thing is we're wondering what's in these pages, and is it going to change anything? And why does he care about Charlotte? Like, we knew he had the watch that said that for Charlotte or to Charlotte.
That's right. Yeah, he loves Charlotte, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're like, I mean, I think we all are like, what's his relation to Charlotte? Like,
I didn't put it together till just now that the watch had Charlotte's name on it, and now he's muttering her name here. Okay, cool stuff.
And Elizabeth got it from Noah and said, Noah said this belongs to you.
Right.
And Charlotte had never seen it before.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. She's seen it now, of course. All right, so then 1954, Agnes sits beside the bed of Trant. She pulls the newspaper clipping out to read it again. It turns out it's an article about the death of Claudia. Claudia knew about her death all along and used Agnes to make sure it happened as planned.
So yes, Agnes is doing Claudia's thing for her, and kind of telling Noah some lines, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, Noah's shaking right now, so he's fair game to be manipulated, I think, because his world's been shaken.
So in 2020, Claudia stands outside the home of older Regina. Her cancer has gotten worse and has taken a toll. And when I first watched this scene, I was like, what is the deal? But I guess this is the first time she's seen Cancer Regina. You know, like this Claudia when when this Claudia last saw Regina, she was telling her how much she liked her hair and how grown up she looked.
Oh, man. Okay. Yep.
And Regina takes off her headscarf and has no hair. And Claudia she cries when looking at her daughter, and her mind filled with regrets and thoughts of wasted time.
Probably thoughts of like the correlation between cancer and that power plant too, perhaps.
The barrels.
Yeah, and Egon, excuse me, is a cancer victim as well. I don't remember him hanging out by those barrels, but I definitely have seen Bernadette really close to them, and we know Waller drives them around. And I don't know, Regina got the worst of it though somehow, which is completely unfair, but she did.
Yeah, that's true. And Claudia just found out today her father has cancer.
Oh God, you're right. Jeez, what a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Man.
I think, okay, so we saw right in was it the last episode, 1 episode ago or 2 episodes ago, when old Claudia is talking to the younger Claudia, she mentions, if you do all this correctly, Regina will live. And Claudia was trying to keep up with what she was saying. So I guess I kind of thought she knew something was up with Regina, because that was already mentioned and thrown out there.
Weird.
But I guess maybe...
Well, Regina does live. I mean, she's alive up till this point, so...
She's up, yeah. But when the Claudias are talking to each other, right, that scene when she gives her the machine, and then she takes the machine, and then she digs it up later.
Right.
Yeah, she's just dumping. She does all that info dumping, and she says something about, and if you do it all correctly, Regina will live.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay. Well, that ties right into some of my my questions I have for you when we wrap this up.
Okay, so we have just one more scene, and 1921, I think. I have a question mark next to what time period it is.
I think
because
you're right.
when Adam is in this sick mundus lair, I'm never sure what time it really is, like what year it is. Noah goes to speak to Adam. Adam asks if Claudia had the pages, and Noah says no. So Noah is now lying to Adam, perhaps realizing that Adam may not be his ally after all.
It's got to be something about those pages, because I don't know why else he would be lying to Adam here. And it's obvious he's lying. Jeez, it's so obvious.
You think so?
I mean, come on. That's the worst lie. That's the worst lie face I've ever seen. But yeah, obviously those pages say something that breaks Noah's faith from Adam. Yeah, something about Charlotte. Adam is here saying, we do everything for family. He's talking about connections and how we have to do everything for our family. I'm thinking the only family I know about Noah right now is Agnes, and they don't really seem like they're like helping each other out right now too much.
Does Adam here say something about people get what they deserve?
That's how the episode ends. Yes.
Yeah.
Something else about Agnes too is like, it seems like her episode, the thing she's here for is to break up the Tiedemann family, and then to pass this information from Claudia to Noah, which shakes Noah's faith. So she's a real power hitter. It seems like she's doing some real time damage.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest. This is the episode we see Agnes in the most.
Yes. So yeah, what are your closing thoughts here?
This is a Tiedemann family episode, and we have both Egon and Claudia that are hoping to do right by their kids and make attempts to reach out. And we're getting to see Egon and Claudia in like several different time periods here, and each their attempts are thwarted by barriers that are put in place long ago.
Right.
And Claudia always has come across so cold and businesslike, and here the ice kind of cracks, both in how she tries to close the gap between her and her daughter, and finally by her father. But she sort of lacks the skills to, kind of like Egon, she kind of lacks the skills to be close to somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got on my case last week, Steve, for not reading my notes, reading like my thoughts. So I'm gonna wax a little bit here.
Yeah,
I
great.
was thinking about the scene where she walks in on her mother and Agnes, and that must have been quite a shock for her and maybe impacted her ideas on love, intimacy, and conflict.
Yeah.
So she knew her mother was keeping secrets from her father. Those secrets involved sexuality. She then starts to like hit on Trant and, wants to do things with him that she's probably way too young to like have been doing. She didn't really feel as if she could talk to either of her parents. She seems to be kind of close to her father when she's young. They have a level of intimacy together, but then again, he's not the one that's mainly home. She's mainly home with her mother.
He's never there.
Yeah. And so, like, she learned that love is about secrets and lies. She never really learned then how to discuss difficult things with her own daughter. And Egon has also spent most of his life obsessing over the cases he couldn't solve and the marriage he couldn't save. So he may have neglected his daughter for a time. We saw that we know he was a drunk. So maybe he was emotionally available, and that made Claudia unable to form meaningful relationships with other people. So there's just a lot of, there's a lot of, I feel like a lot of the Tiedemann dynamics are kind of explored in this. I'm definitely making some wild jumps here, but it's like, I feel like this explains a lot about this family's ideas about marriage and sex and, yeah.
I'm with Claudia. It seems like she wants to make things right, and that's what you were saying. Her older self tells her younger self she can save Regina. She wants to make sure Regina's safe, which is kind of like what Adam was saying at the end of this episode. Like, we do everything for our family. So it seems like Claudia her whole goal here is to kind of make things right, I guess, with Regina, because she knows that, something's going to happen. So she's trying to stop that somehow. So that kind of seems like she wants to change time. Am I kind of on the right path so far, maybe?
Yeah, I think she wants to find a way to change things. But there's all the confusion with the schools of thought, right? About like some people are like, it's better to leave, you need to leave time alone, or is it like, I want to change the future and the past?
Yeah, Claudia knows that some kind of thing happened at the power plant last year, and maybe she wants to even change that too. I don't know. Jonas also wants to change the future, and I think the future that he wants to change is the apocalypse, because that's what Stranger Jonas is always talking about, and the younger Jonas is seems like he has the same goal. He's listening to the tapes of Claudia, and he's trying to change time and make things right, and HG is kind of playing a part alongside the two of them, Claudia and Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
So then on the other side of that, we've got Noah, and it seems that he wants to control time, or I'm kind of unclear of what his like motive is, because it's like he's willing to kill kids to make it happen, to make time travel happen, but it's like he wants to control time, and we know he's being led by Adam. And Adam's whole thing is like allowing things to happen as they should. So I really don't understand Adam and Noah's agenda whatsoever.
Well, their agenda has something to do with paradise. Like,
yeah,
if we, the cycle beginning and then paradise. We'll get to paradise, and like Elizabeth in the future was doing the same thing. Like, if we're faithful,
right.
the passage to paradise will open. So I think that's
okay. That's what they're promising people, and that's what they're saying. Helge wants to make it stop. I know that's his whole thing. So I don't think he's necessarily a paradise believer.
You don't think who is a paradise believer?
Helge,
yeah. I don't think Helge's got a concept of paradise.
Right. Okay, all right. So they have this basic, like, we're just going to call it a concept, an abstract concept of paradise. They can't really explain what it is, but it's better than this, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's. At this point, then I'm more on Team Jonas and Claudia and HG. Then it's not that I want to change time, but I certainly don't. I mean, I guess you could say the same concept is like of heaven, right? Like,
yeah, I view Adam and Noah's thing is that they're what they're wanting to happen is similar to the concept of an afterlife. Like,
yeah.
If we like suffer well, then we will earn our way to paradise. And there's the painting, the souls of the damned, that's in the parlor that they're always looking at, is like enduring this hell, enduring this life of hell in order for a greater afterlife.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad I brought that up then, because that gives me a better understanding now of where they're coming from. Well, dang. I guess we're going to get into our favorite characters and our least favorite characters, Lindsay. And neither one of us have come to the table with anything prepared. So we're cuffing it, as they say. Do you want me to go first? Or do you want to go first?
I can go first because I'm ready. I'm ready.
Great.
Sure. Okay, so my favorite character for this episode is going to have to be Claudia.
Okay.
Again, does that mean I agree with everything she does? No, but this is just like, this is her episode. I mean,
it is.
Let's see. She goes to talk to her father, tries to talk to Regina. She sees kind of the future of her daughter, and that moves her enough. Like, it's finally like the Ice Queen breaketh. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it hasn't. This is sort of, I think this is her soul shaking episode here. Like,
yeah.
We got she had some exciting for the last couple episodes. Obviously, like seeing herself and seeing Gretchen and all that was, kind of like some cool intellectual reveals. But the things that happened to her in this episode break her and sort of pave. It's like the origin story of the new Claudia.
Yeah, I hear that. And yeah, I don't know how the best character could be anybody other than Claudia in this episode, because she is portrayed so well by all three actresses, and this is her episode. And I was thinking about other characters, and I was thinking, oh, I like HG. He's cool. Like, and I like talking to him, but he doesn't quite have the same type of emotional hits as Claudia does, you know? He's just like a dude in the shop that's helping, but I don't really feel connected to him. I like him, but it's not like I don't feel connected. So I'm gonna piggyback and copycat and all that kind of stuff. And Claudia's my favorite too in this episode. Lindsay.
Okay. Well, why don't you go first for the naughties then?
Alrighty. I know that I don't have the same naughty character as you. I know for a fact. Okay. And I'm first going to tell you who my naughty character is not going to be. It's not going to be Noah this episode, which is interesting because he shot somebody and like, you know, he's time traveling Helge and we never know if that's safe or not. And he's creepy like he always is. But, you know, we also saw a different side of Noah this episode. And he did shoot Claudia, but it was at Claudia's own insistence. And he's shell-shocked by the papers. And so I almost wanted to, like, I never want to give my favorite character to Noah, but just the fact that we saw a different side of him this time, finally, was interesting. But no, he gets second. This is going to be a big barn burner for you here, but I'm giving this to Inez. I don't like what she's doing with Mikkel here. I do not like that type of parenting where you just put your kid to sleep and just hope they're going to be okay and just ignore the problem and hope it goes away. It's just not the right move, and it's so bad. And it gives us a window into like his next few years probably. I'm not liking this Inez, so she's on my list this episode.
I am 100% in support of this. Like, I have no issues at all with you giving her this award. Yeah.
Good deal. How about you?
I just before I share that, I want to say about Inez. I feel like she's one of those people that's like a little Miss Perfect, but yeah, she's got flaws too, and her flaw is. Her weak spot is Mikkel. She's at her worst when it comes to like the choices she makes for him. Very caring woman, very like, you know, but yeah, she like enables his suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, anytime he tries to talk to her, she's just like, buckle up, son.
I know.
It's all good.
That's also apparent this episode, too. Like, I didn't really notice it as it was happening, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, she's kind of always been this way.
Yeah. Okay, so my worst is going to go to Egon again.
You've given him the best character in the past now. You have.
I gave him a honorable mention, I think, because I might have given it to him once, but I know I at least gave him the honorable mention because I was like, I thought of some good things he did in one episode. Yeah, I don't know. I think he just has no, like, I don't know if I need to say anything else. He has no empathy towards Ulrich. They say that if you really want to catch your enemy, you need to like understand how they think. And I just don't. My favorite detective of all time is Robert Gorin from Law and Order: Criminal Intent. And what I love about him is he can relate to anybody, and he gets most people to confess by being a complete idiot. But he gets into people's heads and understands how they see the world. And this is just something Egon lacks.
All right.
He's emotionally stunted.
Yeah. You gave the worst last week as well. And yep, you're right. You gave him an honorable mention back in episode 8 But yeah, we gave him the worst episode back in episode 7. He's never been on the top. He was worse in episode 3. So he's never made it on top. I was wrong about that. His name keeps coming up because we keep saying he sucks. So there you go. Well, Lindsay, I know you have been busy in the world of movies because I've seen you podcasting like crazy. What's your latest you got for us over there at oneofmystories.com this week?
Well, I did a reviewed actually 2 movies, Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning.
Oh, did he live? Did he live? The motorcycle thing, did he live?
No spoilers, Steve. As well as an independent horror movie called Brooklyn 45. That's a Shudder original. We reviewed both of those this week. So that is all I completed. Still need to do my curtain raiser for Fantasia Fest. Still need to put out our Wawa podcast. But hopefully you'll see both of those this week.
All right, good deal.
How about you, Steve?
I was going to say, it seems to me like you're always busy, but then you always talk about stuff you also haven't done on top of things that you have done. So I don't know. Big kudos to you. It seems to me like you're getting a lot done. I don't really have any plugs this week other than this podcast and my own music. So, give us a shout at sweetchildoftimepod@gmail.com, or check our Instagram, which is sweetchildoftimepod. Or shoot, maybe be like Dylan E and go on to Spotify again and give us another good review and another good comment on episodes, because he's hitting us up again this week. Thank you, Dylan. I very much appreciate it. But yeah, check us out. Thank you very much. And we're going to get out of here now. So everybody, I hope you all find some water and shade. And Lindsay, that goes to you too. I hope you always find water and shade.
Steve, I hope you find some water and shade too, buddy.
Thanks, pal. Until next time, have a good one.
Bye.